Well, I'll start with really a question that addresses all of you. I mean, Captain America Civil War's plot certainly very much rely on a confrontation between very much loved superheroes. Did you feel, as director, as actors, some extra added pressure knowing that the fan base could be somewhat shocked by the unexpected plot?
Well, yes. I mean, look, we knew the idea was very risible, and it could be very controversial with fans. But being diehard fans ourselves, my brother and I were very excited to tell this story. I think there's been a number of these movies now, and they've been great stories. But the prospect of placing the central conflict of one of these movies between these characters themselves that we've come to know over several films, these characters we've come to love, it felt like a very challenging place to go on a storytelling level, and therefore very exciting as well. So it's high risk, high reward, hopefully, and that's why we went for this story in the end. I don't know if any of you guys.
You used the word challenging, but of course there's also pressure. So about you three, how did you get into that challenge or pressure?
I just think it's amazing that the Marvel, that they are continually coming up with new ways to tell these stories, and I just thought, as Anthony said, it would be very exciting to have a new way to approach these characters and a new way to tell this story. And people have been coming in saying, I thought the Civil War, there were like hundreds of Avengers fighting each other, hundreds of superheroes. I was like, hundreds? There's already too many in this damn movie. But yeah, I just thought it would be a new fun way to get at it. And of course, my character has some, different challenges in this one. So I thought that was very interesting.
Emily, I saw you nodding as they were speaking. What about your take and your pressure?
Yeah, well, I mean, in terms of the Avengers going at each other, I got to see it from more of an objective perspective because I'm not within that battle. And I have to say, it's really strange to watch as a fan of these movies. It's hard to see, these characters that you love so much at odds with each other. But it was really beautifully done. The Russo brothers do such an incredible job of balancing these films. And you really do struggle with which side you're on. I mean, I still, to this day, having seen the movie a couple times now, I still struggle with, with really strongly picking a team as Emily. I mean, Sharon's a little bit different, but I just think that everyone did a great job with it. So it was really cool to be a part of it.
I mean, Robert Downey Jr., you seem to always have no pressure yet. Maybe there was some.
I'm constipated right now.
Oh, wow.
Even just remembering the pressure.
That was now. What about then?
Right, back then. Very loose. These are still movies. We're still, actors who show up, and there's always this faith, anyone can pitch you an idea. It's like, this time we're gonna, and you're like, oh, okay. And it really has to do with the execution of it, and I think particularly these films really come down to, which is why I love the Russo so much, is this team of, they're like surgeons. They're going we're gonna really watch this and really play with the levels and the interactions and the editing and what to highlight and what not to miss. And so it really is kind of like, it's like great chefing, So to me, I was like, if this is done correctly, this will be really good. And I'm just so pleased that the movie's been well received. There's no pressure when people like it.
Right. Question here. What? Here, sir. Yeah.
Hi. You were talking before about how many heroes are in this movie. Did it ever worry you about actually fitting these guys on screen? I mean, one of them actually gets quite big at one point. Just the sheer kind of scale of this movie and having to get all these superheroes on screen at one time. Did that ever worry you?
Well, that's why we had to shoot that sequence in IMAX. It wouldn't fit. No. We look. My brother and I are big fans of ensemble storytelling. We sort of it's been at the heart of almost everything we've done as filmmakers. So we love the ensemble. There's so many great characters, and and Marcus McFeely, our masters, the writers of this film have written more of the MCU than any other writers, so they know these characters as well or better than anybody. So figuring out, it was really a script issue. If it can work in the script, we can make it work in the movie. So it was very much, the process that we go through, that Joe and I went through with Marcus and McFeely, is we would sort of step through the movie at various points from every single character's point of view. So we would just filter the entire experience of the film from all of these characters' point of view up here and the other characters in the film as well. So it's cool. Like, we're big fans of, we like movies that you can chew on. We like movies that you can revisit multiple times. It's how we like to enjoy movies ourselves. So I think when you have a dense ensemble like this, it provides for repeated viewings and looking at the movie in different ways on each pass. So it's part of the joy and the pleasure of the film for us.
Question ici.
Question for Robert Downey Jr. Hello. You're supposed to be the one who knows the best Tony Stark now, and how is it to play a character movie to movie with different people who are writing scripts, different directors? Do you sometimes say Tony would not say this or not?
I try that at home.
Does it work?
No. I think I'm probably one of the 3 or 5 best Tony Starks that have been in the movies. It's interesting too. I was kind of getting caught up in what Anthony was saying, because I want to talk to Emily and say, so is there a romance blossoming between you and Captain America? And people will ask me those questions. I go, I don't know. What do you? I'm not dictating to the board at Marvel what my character will and won't do. But there's a sensitivity and there's this kind of interplay at this point where you don't really have to say, oh, I wouldn't do that, because most of the time it's being thought of on your behalf. Right, Don?
Correct, Robert, correct.
Question here.
Oui, c'est une question pour les deux héros, super-héros. Le film pose la question de la suprématie des héros des uns par rapport aux autres. Est-ce que vous avez l'un et l'autre le sentiment que les super-héros peuvent être mortels? Et en ce qui concerne votre personnage, Robert Downey, est-ce que vous pensez que s'il y a suprématie, c'est le vôtre qui est tout en haut de l'échelle, qui est le meilleur, le plus fort?
All right, this is a two-part question. The first question is for you, Don Cheadle. I mean, obviously, from what we saw in the trailer anyway, we thought superheroes could actually die.
Yeah.
Do you think superheroes are actually mortals?
Well, Rhodey's pretty much a superhero when he's in that suit, but outside of that suit, he's just a man. And as far as I know, men can die.
Yes, that's a pretty good statement, yes.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's how it works.
Particularly if they forget the anniversary.
Definitely then.
Well, you're still alive, so that's okay, Robert Downey Jr. Well, actually, the second part of the question was yours. If actually superheroes can die, do you feel that you are on the top of the superhero scale and you're the best on the first one?
It's like anything. You stick around and you realize that you're kind of being supported by everything and everyone around you. So I would say 5 or 7 years ago, I was on a complete narcissistic trip. And then you keep seeing this new fresh talent come in, and it's kind of where the eyes on the screen go. Because it's like, yeah, we know what he's going to do. Who are these new people? What's she up to? What's going to... Whatever. August 27th. It's the anniversary, in case you're wondering.
All right. Well, actually, talking about superpowers, I mean, Emily, you don't have really a superpower, yet you seem to have an incredible power about Captain America. What's your power like on him?
She's got her female power, that's all she needs.
Yes.
Come on.
The superest power of all.
The superest power of all. Yeah. Take note, people. She's worked really hard to get to where she's at, and that includes, being kind of a badass, I think. But no, there's no actual superpowers that I know of, that I've read in the comic book. So,
but I'll ask you then the question that Robert was asking earlier. I mean, is there romance here going on?
I mean, in the history of the comic books, there's actually a very, very interesting, complicated romance between the two of them. I don't know how much, you never know how much of it we're going to explore. That's a Anthony question. I mean, I don't make any assumptions within this universe, but it's definitely something that was fun to explore in this film, and to me, it seems like we're just sort of scratching the surface, But I don't know, we'll see.
Question here.
Oui, bonjour et bravo pour votre travail à tous. Je travaille pour une radio, Chérie FM, essentiellement destinée pour les femmes. Alors on va faire preuve d'imagination. Imaginez que je suis Stéphanie, j'ai 35-40 ans. Je connais les super-héros, Captain America, Batman, mais Marvel, ça me parle pas. Voilà, j'ai jamais vu de saga, je suis pas fan, mais j'aimerais y aller parce que ça donne envie, parce que c'est spectaculaire, parce que voilà. Est-ce que vous pouvez m'expliquer ce qu'est l'univers Marvel et de quoi ça parle à celles et ceux qui ne connaissent pas?
All right. First of all,
that wasn't just like what's your favorite color, right?
Well, what's your favorite color, actually, Don?
Blue.
All right, now we know. Wow, relief! What a relief! Yeah, actually. This man is journalist for a radio called Chérie FM, which addresses women mostly. So the question is, he is in reality a she, a Stephanie, roughly 35-year-old, and she has not a clue about what the Marvel Universe is about. So in your own words, what would you tell Stephanie to make her want to go into the Marvel world? First you. Well, you'll all have to answer that, remember. Think.
Is that our job? Can't you help us with that? Yeah. No. I mean, look, the one thing that's really important with these movies is, as they progress, they seem to become more and more popular. So you see more and more audiences coming to them. So you necessarily know that there are going to be people in the movie theater who haven't seen the previous movies. So it's very important for us to be able to make each movie for fresh eyes. It's not just for fans. It's not just for people who've been following the series movie to movie. You have to be able to walk into the movie theater, sit down and enjoy the movie beginning to end without any previous knowledge. It's a difficult balance to walk, but it's a really important one. You have to satisfy two audiences, the hardcore fan audience and what we call virgin eyes. So yeah, I don't know. Look, to me, this movie is it's a family fight, basically. It's about a group of people, a surrogate family, who've been drawn together by their very unique circumstances and their unique abilities, and they've formed very deep and complicated relationships with one another, and this movie drives a wedge between them, and it divides them and rips them apart. So then for me, that's a very relatable story, whether you're a fan of fantasy films or superhero films or whatever. We try to ground the story in very relatable human emotions and human experiences.
But what's the core, the essence of what you would call the Marvel Universe?
I have an equation. M equals MM plus M. Thank you. Marvel equals modern mythology plus money.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah, that's real.
I would also, I know when I answered it, it was more specific to this film than the Marvel Universe. But just to speak to the Marvel Universe for a moment, it's like, what Marvel is doing is sort of unprecedented in the history of cinema, in the sense that they are doing serialized storytelling that began 10 years ago with the original Iron Man movie, and it's going to continue now through at least, we know, 2019 with the final Avengers Infinity War movie, and may even go beyond that. So you have a very unique form of storytelling happening here that isn't quite analogous to anything you've seen on television, which is a little more focused in terms of its serialization and continuous. But it's nothing like you've seen in the cinema before, where you've been conditioned to have 2-hour standalone movies. So it's just in terms of why you might be interested in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, is just that in many ways it is a new form of storytelling that we can all experience in the cinema that's very exciting, I think.
You question here, please. Can you stand up? Yeah.
I'm Sylvia for Disney Channel France, and my question is for kids. I would like to know what would be your advice for kids that want to become Avengers. Sorry.
That's a good question. Right. Hey, whoa!
That's right. You started opening your mouth. That's what happens.
Oh man.
Kids who want to be Avengers. I guess dream big. You know. Work hard, eat your broccoli, do sit-ups.
Get an internship with Kevin Feige.
That's right. That's it. Meet Kevin Feige however you can, and do whatever he asks you to do.
No, don't do that.
No, don't do that. 'Cause he's weird.
No. That sounded weird, Downey.
No, that's bad.
What do you think, Emily?
I think that, you know, Don's right. Dream big, and I said work hard, and I believe that's true for anything. I mean, in order to accomplish anything you want to accomplish in life, you have to invest yourself wholly in it and really commit yourself to it. And that was the best advice I ever got as a kid, you know. So, and you know, if you really push yourself, you can really, whatever you want to be, you can do it. I mean, my sister's studying to be a vet, and she's excelling at that. It's just about knowing what you want to do, being focused, and really going for it. And I guess that would be my best advice. I don't know.
Also knowing that what you want to do is actually possible.
I was going to say that. Keep in mind that being an Avenger is actually not real.
That's the thing, you
Maybe
know.
not realistic.
I know somebody says when they were a kid, they say, when I grow up, I want to be a dinosaur. It's like, you know what? Wait, work hard.
Right.
Change your DNA.
Right. Well, you'd hope you have good enough guidance to tell you you're not going to be a dinosaur. I mean, but yeah.
What advice would you give? Getting to that universe, would you give any advice to kids?
I think we've given enough advice to kids already.
Question ici, au micro.
Yeah, let them take care of the advice.
What is the mic?
Alors bonjour, ma question elle est pour Émilie. On peut voir que Sharon elle a un amour pour Steve et on le voit dans le film, mais on peut voir aussi que vous savez vous débrouiller pendant une bataille. Où est-ce que vous aimeriez voir votre personnage atterrir dans d'autres films de la MCU?
I mean, I feel like it's, you know. Oh, sorry. Yes. I can answer it, but.
Oh, yeah,
yes.
of course you
Yeah, sorry. No, not always, but I did understand.
You are. I know that. Show off.
Guess who's doing the presentation at the premiere tonight? That's right. Guaranteed.
Nope. Everyone wants to see you, Robert. Sorry. I think, you know, what was great about this film is we really get to know, you know, Sharon as Sharon. She's not just Agent 13. Steve finally knows who she is, so we were able to kind of develop that relationship a little bit more and see that connection on a deeper level. In terms of, you know, where she's headed in the universe, I don't know. I mean, you only really know when you get that call, so we'll see, but you know, there certainly is a lot more to explore if they want to take that route, you know. We'll see. Thank you.
Question, au micro là-bas,
yes,
monsieur.
hello, Frederick from Belgium. A question for both Don and Robert. Both of you are 51, I think. You are still in great shape, but it's not usual in superhero movies to have a character played by actors that are more than 50. And so, what do you think about that? It's great. Until what age do you think you will play superheroes and you will still be believable?
Now I'm going to cry.
Well, the good thing is that contractually I'm finished with these by the time I'm 65. So I think just one more course of steroids and I think I'll be just fine.
Don and I talk about this too because, you know, there's this inevitable thing that happens. You're in your early 40s, and then you're in your mid 40s, and then all of a sudden you're looking at the back nine. And a couple, I think on Iron Man 3, Don was like, "Oh, I got more action movies." And I was like, "I know, me too." And the clock starts to tick on that a little bit, you know.
Yeah.
And particularly when you're surrounded now with like much, thanks Emily, much, she's, you know, you get a lot of young folks around you, and I think it's really good. You start, you know, just this morning I was thinking, my God, dude, like this is going to run its course in a minute here.
I think a lot of us can't actually imagine that happening, though. I think it's been said many times that it's very difficult to imagine, especially in, you know, with you guys. I mean, I'm new to this, you know, I'm replaceable, but with you guys, there's such a, I mean, the fans have been on a journey with you, you know, so it would be very difficult to imagine anyone else in either of your shoes, I think. That's just my opinion.
You'd have thought that, and then Anthony was taking meetings with some exciting new young French actors this morning, weren't you?
Question. Micro est ici. Levez-vous si vous voulez.
Une question pour le réalisateur et qui peut être aussi pour les acteurs. Est-ce que ce n'est pas un film, en fin de compte, sur la culpabilité et la vengeance, et pour les acteurs, comment chacun réagit par rapport à ça et par rapport à son personnage?
Well, this is also a film about somewhat guilt and revenge. I mean, how do you, as characters, react to those two concepts, and how do you react in real life?
Well, I've never been guilty of anything, so I don't have to deal with that part. But revenge, I think that's an interesting theme in this movie, and that several characters are dealing with it. And they have to come to grips with the consuming nature of that emotion and how that can throw you off of your, definitely throw you off of your line. And I just thought it was, you know, it's so front-loaded. The movie is so front-loaded with that, and then it just comes to like this shocking point at the end where three characters are dealing with that manifestation, and I just think it was really a real deft way of writing that in there.
What about you, Emily? I mean, after all, you starred in a series called Revenge. You should know some of it, right?
Oh, man, I did not bring any of that into this movie. That was all on you guys because I had just finished Revenge and that was enough. Yeah, no, yeah, 4 years of it was good. Leave it up to these guys in this film. But it's a very interesting theme and one that I've truly enjoyed exploring for quite a while now. But it was good to leave, you know, that character behind, actually.
I think it deals well in the movie too, because it really is, when you think about it, is one of the scariest for me. It's just so all-consuming. If you let yourself go over that edge, you know, it's like. And I think even when you get the thing that you want, it's like it's never enough. It's not what you're really after. Yeah, it doesn't fix it.
What about you, Robert?
Well, I mean, as far as guilt, if you stop doing what you shouldn't be doing, you won't feel guilty. So everyone should do that. And I was thinking about revenge. Like I always heard, like the smart money is you serve it cold. You wait till supposedly it's kind of like they don't think. You know what I mean? But then I get kind of like spaced out, so I kind of forget what I wanted to seek revenge for. So it works out pretty well.
It's a good trick.
Yeah, another side effect of being 51.
Exactly. Question là-bas.
Bonjour. Alors moi ma question c'est sur le méchant. En fait dans le précédent Avenger, toute l'équipe affrontait un méchant emblématique Marvel Ultron. Là on a un méchant aux ambitions, enfin aux motivations un peu plus floues, qui est un total inconnu. Donc je voulais savoir comment vous l'aviez construit, et on a un peu l'impression que ce méchant, il se fait aider par une organisation, une force un peu plus divine, parce qu'il arrive à trouver le soldat de l'hiver que tout le monde cherchait depuis pas mal d'années. Donc est-ce qu'il y a un peu plus derrière ce méchant, et est-ce qu'on pourrait le revoir?
Well, in the last film, Avengers, I mean, Ultron was the ultimate bad guy. In this movie, I mean, it's interesting because Zemo is really more of a more sort of complex bad guy. We don't really know where he comes from, but he seems to have sort of a godly force helping him. He's the one who finds the Winter Soldier when everybody else has failed. So I mean, what's your take on him? And yeah, what's your take on him, really?
You know, Zemo, yeah, we would always thought about him a bit as an allegorical villain. He is, he has the same gripe against the Avengers that many people do when the movie starts. The idea that they have wielded their power in a way that's been irresponsible and hurtful and wrongful to some people. Tony Stark is approached early in the film by another woman who has a similar story, who's angry about that. The whole motivation for the Accords in the film comes from a place of them feeling wronged on that level. Now, Zemo, of course, takes it to the degree that, the unhealthy degree, what you guys were just talking about with revenge, he actually wants payback for that. And here's a guy, you know, we always thought of him on one level as an everyman, but he also has a very specific history in that he was Sokovian Special Forces. So he has a special knowledge about covert activities and those sorts of things. And he's driven. He's just so angry about the fact that he was wrong, that his family was killed by the Avengers in his mind. That he has spent his time, you know, the storytelling is that, you know, at the end of Winter Soldier, Black Widow released all the Hydra files that had been hidden onto the internet. And so the idea is those files were out there. Many of them were written in code. Zemo has been so driven that he's been combing through these files, trying to find a thread, because he knows he's mortal. He knows he can't go against the Avengers. He knows he can't physically defeat them, but he knows he might be able to like undo them from the inside. So he's looking for a shred of evidence, this idea that the Winter Soldier may have been involved with the murder of Tony Stark's parents. And he goes after this, where, you know, it's upon you guys now to keep the spoilers from getting out there. That's your responsibility.
Of course.
This is going live on the internet right now.
Yeah, you know, and he's found that needle in the haystack. He's found the shred of evidence that he needs, and it's basically a complex trail that he follows to its end. Yeah.
I mean, and just wanted to know if this character is a character you would like to go back with in the next steps. Is that interesting?
Zemo?
Yeah.
Well, I think it is very interesting because Zemo, you know, I think there's a big open question at the end of the movie. You know, he tries to kill himself at the end of the film, and Panther stops him, you know, and it's a very interesting place to leave a character. Somebody who thought his mission was over to the point where he could end his life, but then is denied that. And where does that kind of a character go? How does that character move forward from there? Be very interesting to see, I think.
Question here. Oui, le micro.
Hello. It is a question to every one of you. Would you have personally chosen the team Iron Man or Captain America?
Aha. All right, you, Mr. Director, tell us which team you would go for.
Look who he's traveling with.
I will say this. Like, it was critically important. My brother and I always believed the best version of the movie was the version where you get to the end of the film and you would not know who to side with. That both Tony and Steve were a little right and a little wrong, and you could equally relate to both. It was really important to us because I think, look, we've seen these characters develop now over several films. You know who Tony Stark is. You know who Steve Rogers is. You know they're not villains. They're not going to all of a sudden lose their minds and go insane unless they were mind controlled or some extraordinary circumstances that may take us another movie or two to develop. These are well-rounded people. So to get them into the point where they are going to fight each other to that degree, where their relationship may become irreconcilable, it's a very sensitive process to take them through.
Yeah, I mean, to me, just as objective as I can be, I just looked at it as I think what the filmmakers accomplished was at the end, it got me thinking about how quickly you'll, whether it's politics or sports or, a couple breaks up, and how quickly we can be indoctrinated into thinking something applies to our rationale, and then we start buying onto that idea if I'm on this side or I'm on that side, you know. So I think that without being too heavy-handed, it actually strangely got me contemplating something that is, that's worth thinking about.
What about you, Don and Emily?
Well, for me, the one sort of salient argument about whose side was that Team Iron Man seemed to represent many sides, and it wasn't just simply about what Tony Stark wanted, but it was about what many nations had put their hands in the air and said what they wanted as well. And even if it were later going to be vitiated, I thought it made sense to agree in the beginning. Even if later they said, you know what, we made a mistake, we're going to do what we want to do anyway. That it's at least what the argument that Tony Stark makes about coming and gaining some trust back and showing that there is a letter of the law that they recognize, I thought that made sense.
Agreed, Emily? You're nodding.
I'm just always constant. I'm like in a constant
She has a thing.
state.
You're
It's like that bird that gets water and then it dries out.
It's hard to disagree, you know. I mean, are we speaking from a character's perspective or a personal perspective? Because as Emily, I mean, I would find it really, really difficult to choose. I think that's what makes the movie so interesting, and what the audience is going to love is you can't quite figure it out because both are right and both are wrong in many ways. It's really challenging. I think from the character's perspective, I mean, it's hard for her because, you know, it's like, what, is she going to follow her head or is she going to follow her heart? It would make perfect sense for her to agree with Iron Man and agree that the Avengers should sign the Accords because, I mean, she works for the government and that in her terms is the right thing to do. But where her heart's at is a different story. You know, she's incredibly loyal to Steve and so you kind of get a sense of where her loyalties really lie in this film, ultimately.
Alors, dernière question. Oui? You wanted to add something?
This, though, I am wearing my Iron Man cufflinks today.
Boom!
That means something.
Can we see them?
Yes.
He does. All right. Dernière question, oui?
Oui, bonjour. Déjà, merci d'être
Alors,
ici.
j'en aurai une deux.
Well, thank you for being here. Thank you for the three great movie. It's a global question. I would like to speak about what's not in the movie. Can you tell us a bit about the deleted scenes, deleted subplots, and for each of you, the one you missed the most?
Deleted scenes.
There aren't many deleted scenes in the movie. There is a portion of a scene between Don and Robert that has been deleted. It was their final scene in the movie, which came out great, but we just had more than we needed there. But you look, the thing is, and they can talk to you more specifically about that, I don't think you're in a deleted scene in the movie, right? No. But look, these movies are very expensive to make. So by the time, my brother and I our philosophy has always been, by the time you get to set, you want to know exactly what you need in the movie, because you don't want to spend any resources on anything that's not going to end up in the theaters. So we're very careful in the script development process to get really close to the mark in terms of what we're going to shoot. So I think, fortunately, both on Winter Soldier and this movie, we didn't have a lot of deleted scenes. But you guys want to talk about that scene that you did?
I think, well, there was something on the front and the tail of it a little bit. You kept the meat of the scene, the important part, them making their connection. But it first started with a physical therapist, right? And a little flirtation with Rhodey in it.
Yeah, that's right. Rhodey had taken a liking to his PT coach.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then also after that, there was kind of a resolution with Rhodey checking in with Tony about Pepper.
Right.
But by the way, when I watched it, I was just like, we just needed to get you expressing yourself, and we had to get right to Tony Stank. We had to get right to Stan's thing. Yeah.
All right, last question here.
Oui. J'aurais voulu savoir si Iron Man aurait signé l'accord si Donald Trump était le président des États-Unis.
Well, would Iron Man have signed this accord if Donald Trump had been president of the United States? This is a question for you, Robert. It's a tough one. Would you have signed these accords if Donald Trump had been president of the United States?
Anything that comes out of my mouth is going to be what any article is led with. I won't give you that satisfaction.